today I'm going to introduce today I'm going to introduce a teaching strategy, and it's called gallery walk. And this discussion technique allows students to actively engage as they walk through the classroom. And they work together in small groups to share their ideas and respond to meaningful questions, documents, image, or problem-solving situation. So first, the teacher should print some pictures that you want your student to discuss. And here is the website. Okay, so website that I found the pictures for my students to discuss. And there are some questions below the pictures that you can let the viewers to think about. So you can also let your student to discuss the questions about the picture. And so I chose 5 pictures from this website, and they printed and stuck it all around my classroom. And we can type a word bank on the paper because and some example of sentence for the student to help them complete the sentence more easily. Once I forgot to give them the word banks, and they kept asking how to spell the words, how to write the sentence. So don't forget to type it on the paper. And we have let the students of different levels use different color pen, and we can, after that, we can know which sentence is written by which student. And if the lower level student can write a complete sentence, we just let them write some words they see in the pictures. Okay, so the effect of the teaching strategy, I think through this activity, students can learn from other groups and get different ideas when they move around to finish all of it. And I saw them go to find some words from their textbook and try to use the word they learned to make a complete sentence. And when I share the sentence on the paper, they all expect their sentence to be read out. And I'm going to introduce you a website, and it's called education.com. And there are so many resources on the website. You can find worksheet here, games, or activities, lesson plan, and songs and story. Yeah, and this is when we visit in elementary school in America. The teacher prints different kind of worksheets from the website and put into a file folder. And when some students finish their works, they can go to choose a folder and do the advanced practice, and they won't waste their time to waiting for their other classmates. Yeah, and the worksheet is fun, so I think the student won't repel to do it. And here is the games. And my colleague, she does remedial teaching, and she lets their students to practice English through these games. Yeah, she gave them pads and let them practice English through these games, like this. of learning English. And now I'll introduce our cloud lesson. The first topic is American currency, because we were not familiar with American money. So when we were in America, and we think it's a useful and interesting topic for students. So Leah introduced the appearance of the money. Yeah, appearance of the money and the value. And also 50 states quarters. And students all were curious about the patterns on the coins. Like this. So Leah searched real pictures of patterns and explained why it represents the states. Introduction, students can have a better understanding of each state, and we let students to practice how to pay in US dollars. So we show the price tag of the goods, and students need to count their US dollars. Then we went to check whether they counted right or not. And next lesson, it's our turn to introduce Taiwanese currency to Leah. So I divide them into 4 groups, and each group needs to introduce one bill, like $100, $500, $1,000, and $2,000. And after the introduction, Leah told students big numbers, and the students had a competition with Leah. Yeah, big numbers. Here. And students with the competition with Leah to see who can count the money correctly and quickly. And we both use Taiwan dollars to count, but the price tag were written in English numbers, and students need to understand the sentences, and Leah need to be familiar with Taiwan dollars. And our second topic is weather. Leah introduced the weather in Bellingham and told students the word about weather and how to express the feelings and temperature. Like this. Yeah, it's rainy and cloudy in winter, and it's freezing cold. And after that, students play true or false game. We also teach them the words about weather. And we let them play the game, true or false game. When Leah asked them some question about weather in Bellingham, they need to choose the true or false cards. And the other activity is give them some word cards, flashcards. And when Leah said words, the student to pick up the workout of pictures. And when Leah showed the pictures, the student have to pick out the words. Like this, if Leah showed the picture of Sunny, and they need to pick out the workout and write Sunny. And next class is our turn to introduce Taiwan weather in Taiwan. And I let students introduce the weather of 4 seasons in Taiwan to Leah, and let them practice the words of month, weather, and feeling and temperature. And Leah told us how to express the temperature like this. The temperature is blah 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 degree, and we have an activity. The students should work in groups and count the number, and then see who can write down the complete sentence on their whiteboard and say it fast and get 1 point. And after review the words about the weather, we have a bingo game. And students should write down the words on the bingo column. And when Leah would say a sentence, students need to listen to the keywords and circle their words on the bingo column. And to see which one get the best lines. Okay, so our third topic is hometown. Leah introduced the locations, spots, and activities in Bellingham. And let them learn some words about activities and know different activities that we seldom do in Taiwan. Like go to the park, take a walk, go on a picnic, dance and play volleyball, go to the lake, go kayaking, and go downtown. And Leah also tell them some different products of different seasons in Bellingham, and ask them some questions for evaluation in the end of the class. Products. Then ask them some questions about Bellingham. So next time, I gave students some example that how to introduce spots and foods and how to recommend it to others. The students follow my sample to think about where do they want to take Leah to visit and what kind of food do they want Leah to try. Then search the English words by themselves. When they handed their work, I was amazed. The work was beyond my expectation because in the previous time I always wrote down the introduction and let them introduce to Leah, but I think the way is they learn less from this way. So they need to find the word and finish it by themselves. It will be more impressive and learn more from the process. Yeah, so in that week, we don't have time for them to practice in the class. And I let their group leader to arrange which members should talk about which parts. And when they introduce to Leah, I don't need to read the sentence again. And they did the presentation fluently. So I saw their progress about speaking and teamwork at that time. Yeah. And next one is my teacher inquiry. And because my students' level are different, half of them have learned English after school, so their English ability is good. But some of them only learn English at school. And I worry that if I use English to teach, the student maybe can understand and feel frustrated. But in WWU, the teachers demonstrate and teach us how to use second language to teach in class. And I feel surprised because I don't know the language, but I can understand what teacher is talking about through the methods they used. And this semester, I start to use English as main language in my class. And I found that students become more concentrated because they want to figure out what I'm talking about and to be the first one to translate it. So I will use pictures and gestures and real objects to help them understand and keep use the same sentences, like what does that mean, how to pronounce it, and let them be familiar with those sentences, and they can reply it reflectively, because I ask them in English, and they will try to answer me in English too. And we have a foreign volunteer in our school, and I saw that they talk to the volunteer actively, or they will come to ask me to say how to say blah 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 in English, and they will try to talk to her by themselves instead of asking me to tell her. And I think that is the progress I saw from this project. And thanks to my club partner Leah, she gave us a good learning experience. Thank you everyone.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Yeah, I really like their topic, that is currency, weather, and hometown. Especially the currency, because I just do the postcard exchange with my club partners, that we both students from Taiwan and America, we exchanged the postcards, and they gave just $1 coin to each other, and that made them just feel amazing. Yeah, so I like the topic very much. And so next one, we will have Eva to share her experience. Let's welcome her.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Eva, and I teach at San Juan Elementary School in Taichung. And I would like to share 3 parts of my project. The first one, what we learned in WW, the strategy and project. And second one is I will share my club meeting lesson. And the third one, I will share my teacher inquiry. Okay, and here are my students. They are 12 fourth grader students in my class, and only 2 students go to the Korean school to learn English. And they live in a small village and near the sea. So they have no opportunity to speak English in their daily life, so they are afraid of speaking English. And now I would like to share one of class strategy is pictorial input. And this strategy, teacher use picture or drawings to help students understand. And there are two stages. The first one is teacher-centered, and teacher draws, says, and write down the keywords on the poster. And the second stage is student-centered. student will grab one small piece of paper and with keywords on it, and students have to listen and what the teacher talk about, and when they heard the keyword that they have to stick it on the blackboard. And now I want to tell how I use pictorial input in my class. And actually, I'm not good at drawing, so I use the PowerPoint to show my students. And this is a topic about weather, so I tell my students the weather in Keelung in Taiwan about like this PowerPoint. And at a second class, I will give my students a paper and ask them to listen. When they heard the word that they have to stick it, the small paper keyword on the blackboard. And I also combine the sentence pattern chart to remind students the order of the weather word and meaning words. They can put in the front, in the middle, like this, and only the season word in the final. And at the step 4, I will let my students to draw about weather, combine the season word together, and they have to finish the worksheet like this. And I also display it on the desk. So here is my students' worksheet, and they will use the season word, only simple. It's very easier, just like write down spring, summer, fall, and winter. And they will use the sentence is sunny, blah, 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 is blah, 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 like this. And next one, I would like to introduce the Starfix. It's the app, and we can easily make our own video by it. So you will, first one is very important. You have to create your account and make your own video. And here are the 16 modes. You can choose whatever you like. And then you will add your photos or videos, and you also can add music and other words. And in the final step, you will produce your video, and I will show you what I make for everyone. So I just cut in my computer, and I will just put in the stuff fix. Okay, so it's very easy. So you can try it. So next one, I will talk about my crowd meeting, because we have the Sara and me. We are the team, so we do the same topic, but Sarah's students are 6th graders, so they will do harder topic. And my students are 4th graders, so I will make it easier for them, so not to let them be pressured. So maybe teacher, you will have curious about the lesson, because if we want to do like this, I have to train my student, but I don't have more time to do like this, because we only have 2 English class a week. So I choose to combine the unit of my textbook. So I combine the unit of my textbook with the unit 5. What time is it? So I combine it with the money, because a student will know the number was about 20, 30, 50, like this. And student will say the sentence, what time is it, and how much is the book. So I just combine it. And how we do it? Leah will show and introduce the USA dollar, and student will count the money together, and I will help Leah to check. Student will get the right money, and then student can answer Leah's question about how much is it. When Leah raised three bills, $1, $2, and $3, and Leah will ask question, how much is it? But Leah are not my student to raise their hand to answer. Even they just say very simple number, 1, 2, 3, that's all. The most is 10, but no one to raise their hand to answer. I have to call my student's name, and they have to come here, come to the front, and just say, it's $3. And they are very afraid of speaking, and they are very shy. I don't know why, because they have already known the number, easy number, but I don't know why. And the second club meeting, I will just arrange my students into groups. They have to introduce new Taiwan dollars, and so you will see like this 4 photo. And there are high-level students and also low-level students. So they will arrange what sentence they will talk about. So lower-level students may just talk about its rate. It's very easy, its rate. And high-level students will say their children are $1,000, or just like this. So they can do like, can you say like this? Okay. And the third club meeting is talk about weather in Bellingham and Taiwan. And it is also the unit 1 in my textbook. So I teach my textbook, but in club lesson way, yes. So I add more words like season word, because there are no season word on the textbook. But I just to let my students know it. Weather, feeling, and season word, and they have to say the sentence pattern, how's the weather, and it's sunny, just like this. And how do we do it? We just Leah will introduce the Bellingham weather, and we play true or false activity to check student comprehension, and Leah will ask question about with the picture, and student will answer her. Okay, so here is the student to answer Leah's question. So I found that more and more students would like to raise their hand to be volunteer to speak English to answer Leah's question. So here are the picture. And at the fourth club meeting, I let students to introduce the weather in Taiwan. So I separate students in a group, and there are 4 students in a group. And they will introduce the weather in Taipei, Taichung, and Hualien. And students can say the sentence pattern like, it's sunny and hot in summer. So students make a progress by step, because they can say short sentence in the beginning, but more longer sentence in the 4th grade club meeting. So after introducing the weather, we just play game together, and students can say longer sentence than before. Okay, so, and the next one, I will show my students, because we have the 5th club lesson and 6th club lesson, and our topic is family and family's job. So I will show students, they have to present their family to Leah and introduce their job, family job. And the first student, he's good at English. So he can say English fluently.
I'm a student. My father is a worker. My mother is a worker too. My younger sister is a student.
Okay. And the next one is Jerry. Jerry is also good at English, but he's very shy at the beginning. So he is a little nervous, but he's doing good.
Father is office worker. My mother is office worker.
不要紧张，很好。My
older sister is a student. My younger sister is a student.
Okay, so he is a little nervous. And the next one is Jimmy. Jimmy is in the middle level of speaking English, but he's also doing good.
Hi, I'm Jimmy. I'm a student.
不要放，拿着就好。
My grandmother is housewife. My father is a worker. My mother a worker too. My father and my father a student.
Okay, and the next one is a girl. She's Wendy, and she is also good at English.
My father is an office worker. My mother is an office worker too. My brother is a student.
Okay, so and here you will see.
My brother is an office worker.
Oh, okay, so here I collect their family picture for them to make a PowerPoint. So there was maybe they just read a sentence on the PowerPoint, but I just find they just doing good, so they really need opportunity to speak English. And the next one, she is a lower achievement student on speaking English.
Joy is a student.
没记得吗？OK。
My father is a nurse. My mother is a nurse. And my brother is a student.
Yes, so she tried her best to finish her presentation. So, and in the final is my, oh. So in my teacher inquiry, my concern is about my students have less opportunity to speak English in their daily life, and they are afraid of speaking English. Even the simple sentence, they are afraid. But after the club meeting, I found that my students are still shy, but they become better in the final. And they can, from a group presentation, to single person presentation to Leah. So I think they have made a great progress. And students in my class, after the class in WWU, I changed my way of teaching. I try to use 70% to teach English. And my student homeroom teacher also feel that their students will good at listening and speaking through the class lesson. And I found more and more students have more confidence in speaking English. Yes, so they just need opportunity. Thank you.
So, yeah, I just noticed that they have the same topic, but very different ways of teaching, right? So that's what we've done until now, that you can have the same topic, but maybe your students are different level, so we have to manage them. And still we have Leah to share about her thoughts. Let's welcome her.
Give a brief introduction while he's doing that. My name is Leah Sharaby, and I'm also a senior at Western Washington University. I'm studying linguistics and TESOL, and participating in this project has been an awesome opportunity to not only teach English, but also learn about Taiwanese culture and meet new people, so I'm very grateful for the opportunity. This is a photo from the Professional Development Summer Program at Western Washington University. I was able to get to know the teachers on a more personal level at this program, and I think that that really set a good foundation for the project before we started doing more cloud lessons, and before we came to Taiwan. We had a better understanding of the context in which we were doing the lessons and why what we were doing was important. We learned not only from our partners, but from all of the cloud partners about the problems that they had in their classroom and why their students were maybe having problems, having motivation to learn English. And so I think that this helped provide the context that we needed to be able to develop the lesson plans, which we did many during the program. So these are my cloud partners. My cloud partners are Sara and Eva. You just heard them speak. We had a great time learning about each other over the summer program. This was at the conference there. And we developed a lot of our lessons there, but also through meetings that we had before and after the lessons. We would meet on Zoom individually, and I think that something that you can see even through this presentation is that technology can be difficult, and so we had to be flexible about time and about, lessons would be late because the connection wasn't working, and I think you just kind of have to go with the flow. So that's definitely something that I learned more from this than from any other teaching experience. But I think that that's valuable whether or not you're teaching online or in person. Being flexible is an important thing to have learned. But I was very lucky to have them as my cloud partners. I learned a lot from them, and I hope that they also learned some things from me. This is from Sara's school. It was a 6th grade class that I was teaching cloud lessons with. You already heard about our cloud lessons, so I'm going to talk more about what we did this week while I was visiting. We decided not to do a lesson about Christmas, just because the students are very familiar with Christmas traditions. And so instead we talked about Thanksgiving, and we talked about 4th of July, American Independence Day, which many students were not familiar with. We started the lesson by asking, what holidays do you know that we celebrate in America? And they said, Halloween, Christmas, and so it was fun to teach them about something they'd never really heard of. So we started the lesson with a picture, which you can see here, of a Thanksgiving table, and using the question hierarchy, which is a great way to incorporate students of multiple levels in the classroom. So I would ask questions of, like, what do you see on the table, or what color is this? So varying the difficulty of the questions gave more opportunities for different students to be able to answer the questions. And I think that it's a good way to introduce a topic, because the students could see, okay, we're talking about food, we're talking about a family at a table, so what is this lesson going to be about? Maybe Thanksgiving has to do with dinner, maybe it has to do with turkey. And so I think that that's a good way to start a lesson. And this also helped lead into the students introducing Taiwanese holidays to me, which many of which I was not familiar with. And so I think that helped bring more cross-cultural communication, more sharing of cultures. And then we also did, for the 4th of July lesson, after I introduced Independence Day and I talked about the American flag, the students got to draw their own personal flags. So they thought, what's my favorite color? What's my favorite plant? What do I like to do? And they drew a flag, so this is who I am. And then they got to share that with me and got to explain what was on their flags using English. So that was a great way for me to learn more about them in person and on a more personal level, which is sometimes more difficult in the cloud lesson platform because you can't always see their faces very clearly. Okay. In my second day at the school, I was able to meet some of the other students. So I worked with the 1st through 5th graders, which were not the students I had in my cloud lessons. And so I think that it was interesting to see how many of the students, even though they did not speak English very well, some of them only knew the alphabet or how to say thank you or yes or no, just how excited they were to try and communicate. And so I think that that shows, the value of communicating with a native speaker and the excitement that comes from speaking with someone who speaks that language natively, that they want to try and communicate. And I think that that's something important about the cloud lessons, is that the students are excited to hear what you have to say, whether or not they can understand it all of the time. And so we did some fun holiday activities. The students made snowflakes out of paper, which they thought was really fun. And we learned some holiday-related vocabulary that the younger students did not know already, like stockings, and talked about gifts and Christmas trees and that kind of thing. So I have not yet visited Eva's class, but I want to talk about the changes that I noticed in her students over the course of the cloud lessons, because it's very noticeable. Like she said, when we first started the lessons, they never wanted to answer any questions. I would ask a question, she would have to call on them and make them speak and make them come up. They were very nervous and very shy. And then as the lessons have progressed, she doesn't have to call on them anymore. If I ask a question, they actually raise their hand, which is a very huge, I think their confidence is so much better in English. They want to speak more than they did before. And so it's been really awesome to see that change over the course of the project. Yeah, and so something that they definitely improved with was also just volunteering to speak. And they also do speak in longer, more full sentences than they did in the beginning. And I think a lot of that has just been because they're more familiar and more confident in speaking with me. So like Corinne said, one of the challenges for me in the program is just the proximity of this trip to our final exams. I missed all of exam weeks. So I took all of my exams early. That was a bit difficult, and like Corinne said, it made it difficult to feel very prepared to come because we were preparing for our exams and also preparing for the program. So I think in the future, maybe, I don't know if there's another time that works, or even like later in the winter break, if we came after Christmas instead of before Christmas, because we don't start school until January 9th after the break. So that would have been a good time. And also just with holidays, right now is Hanukkah. I don't know if many people are familiar with that, but so I missed all of Hanukkah, which is, of course, I'm so happy to be here. So I think just in the future, something to consider. And also, I only had 80 minutes of time with my cloud lesson students at Sara's school, just because of course, the limit in the schedule. So I think that if we had even a little bit more time with our cloud lesson students, it would have been a great way to get to spend more time in person with them. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to my cloud partners because they've been so awesome, and it's been so awesome to see them again here in Taiwan after not seeing them in person since the summer. And thank you very much to the Ministry of Education and NTNU for the opportunity to be here.
All right, it's a wonderful morning, right? Yes. Are you hungry now? All right, so in the afternoon we will have a very special group that is for junior high school. Yeah, so if you want to know that if our cloud lesson is helpful to junior high school students, even the 9th grader, please keep looking forward to it. And then we will see you at 1:30. And before the lunch, I would like to invite all of the teachers here to take a picture with us. Okay, so let's just move forward.